Welcome into this edition of the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. We are now live as we get set for this weekend's racing action, as there's only 2 races left in this NASCAR Cup Series season. And what a race it was at Miami. We'll talk about everything there. We'll preview the best bets, data, and more we have for Martinsville, as it's the final race of the round of 8 as we get set for that and the NASCAR championship that's ahead. Who's going to be in the championship for? Who's going to win the race? Stay tuned as we get going on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. Welcome in, everyone. It is the NASCAR Betting Preview Show, and I'm super excited to be here. I mean, after last weekend's race at Homestead, Miami, the vibes were high going up into it all weekend long. We talked about the guys we thought were going to win. They came through in the clutch. Big time for Tyler Reddick as he got the win there. And what was awesome to me about seeing that is we're getting right into it here is just the fact that those playoff drivers were 1 through 7 throughout the entire field there, 1 through 7 positions. And it was so cool to see that happening for a playoff race. The magnitude that win would carry for whether it was Reddick, Blaney, Elliott, whoever the case may be. Tyler Reddick obviously gets it done. But now we turn our picture to Martinsville, the final race of the round of 8. I'm joined by Ryan Stevens, win the race. Phil Eastman from Full Tank with Phil. Guys, how you doing, Phil? We'll start with you. I mean, we're talking about Homestead, Miami, and for good reason, right? This is the NASCAR playoffs. I felt like last week was a great culmination of what this season has been able to produce in terms of racing action. What'd you think of it?
I'm right there with what seems like the rest of the NASCAR world. Just like totally unbelievable race. And I was telling these guys before we started recording, like coming out of Sunday, like I was like rejuvenated. I was chalking my notes down for Martinsville on Sunday night just because I was just like, let's go. I can't wait. I want to get this back to it because that race was so awesome and just so many different pieces to it. I mean, you touched on the top 7 being the playoff drivers, but just the fact that the guys who needed to win were all up there doing what they needed to do. I was shocked that Elliott was even leading the way he was. It was just really awesome and edge of your seat type of stuff. It's a perfect racetrack. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said already, but they need to treat it better. The fact that they're going there in like March or springtime next year is a travesty. Just such a great spot for that racetrack. And hopefully in the future, it'll be a championship race again.
Love that there. Ryan, what about you guys? Win the race. I saw a lot of great things on social media, but for those out there who may have not seen the wins that you guys had, talk about that. Talk about what you thought about the race as well, because I was really excited for, I really have to feel like we have to put some of this credit towards you, right? You switch from Debbie Downer to Debbie Upper, the positive vibes and the energy, it really carried over. So how did everything play out for you guys?
Yeah, it was nice to see that happen. I think it did switch the little mojo or whatever. We were on fire. I was, I'll be the first to admit I was dead wrong about Martin Truex. I think that was more just in my heart, but there were numbers that backed it up. But I just think we have to figure, he's toast at this point. Other than that, I mean, the best value section was shouted out Austin Hill, 20-1, his top 5. The Cole Custer over Almirola. Now that was a sweat. If that goes for a couple more laps, I think Almirola is going to catch him. But he beat him the entire race. I was losing my mind those last couple laps. What else did I mean? Hit Reddick winner. Uh, After qualifying, I put in a bunch of Blaney over Elliott. That one I was sweating a lot for a lot of that race as well, but that ended up coming through. And then like a degenerate, I put, my Niners playing the Cowboys in Sunday Night Football. I had to parlay that with the Denny Hamlin top 10. had a bunch of boosts that I just wanted to kind of blow through. So I used a lot of those on that. Fun weekend. Friday, got a vasectomy. Big things happening over here. Big things happening. So
Wow.
I just like to share everything with you guys. I got hot chocolate again, so we're gonna keep that mojo going, and let's talk some Martinsville.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Totally threw me off. Like I got some notes. I'm like trying to lock in, and that one there took me for a wild ride. Hey, let's talk Martinsville and not about that there anymore. But hey, happy for you there. Let's go to the comments there though, also, because we got a lot of people in the chat commenting up. Appreciate you guys. A lot of people in here early too, even before the show started. So we'll go back. Shout out to Kush. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Marcus. Top 3 there. Appreciate you guys. I wish there was odds for the top 3 guys to finish or comment first there for our NASCAR Betting Preview Show, because Marcus has been locked and loaded all season long. He's asking who's everyone's pick to win at Martinsville, and he's going with Christopher Bell and to also win the championship there for C. Bell. Kush is saying Bell or Larson. Good picks there. Brian saying hoping for a C. Bell win as well. Settle if he can point his way in. That's something we're about to touch on in the playoff picture. What are the point standings looking like? Who is going to point their way in, win their way in, or both, or neither, or everything in between? Travis saying let's make some money. Agree there. Brian, thanks for tuning in as always. Appreciate you guys and all the comments. EK, Kyle. Wait, but let's go back to this one. It was a shame Austin Dillon didn't live up to the top 10 hype. And I got to admit, this was something that I lost a little bit of sleep over, because we were hyping him up. It seemed like it was a culmination of a season-long thing with Austin Dillon, because even Phil and I remember talking to Phil earlier in the season where it's like we wanted to bet on Austin Dillon to get a top 10 so many different times. Whether or not we did it or not, he just never really came through. Or when he did, it was when we didn't bet on him, thought Homestead was the opportunity, and didn't come through. But we'll be back. We'll be back this week. Feels like Chase is this week's AD3. Hey, could be in terms of hopefully maybe just not disappointment, maybe some positive energy there. We'll see. So appreciate you guys in the comments. Keep them coming. This is a good one. And snip. That one was for Ryan in terms of his little ordeal there. All right, so now let's move forward to the playoff picture, because really I want to start by asking you guys a question. And Phil, you can touch on this first. And we talked about it a little bit with it, with how we recapped Homestead and everything like that. But I really want to know, was Homestead Miami in the race that it was last weekend the best playoff race? Phil, what do you think?
I think it was the best race of the season. I know that there were some closer finishes, and I know that this playoff, the playoff design rubs people the wrong way sometimes. And what I'm about to say is kind of like manufactured storylines. But the fact that guys needed to do what we saw them doing, like they stepped up to the plate and they went for it. We're talking about Hamlin. We're talking about Blaney. We're talking about Reddick. That extra drama played into it. And it's so cool when you see athletes of any sport step up in the big moments. Now, obviously, only one guy could finish the job, but it was still awesome to see the team step up on pit road, everybody just doing their job, and just really cool. So I say not in the playoffs, the best race of the year.
I love it. To me, I think to that same thought process, this is one of the best playoff races I've ever seen with this format, right? Everyone likes to talk about the playoffs and cause a lot of controversy with it being the way it is presented to us. But when you have 1 through 7 being playoff drivers, that's what it's all about. And the big drivers and the big names stepping up the most. Ryan, how cool was it to see Michael Jordan celebrating as happy as he was, as exciting as he was with Tyler Reddick in that 23-11 team? Because I think that's definitely something I wanted to touch on in this show quickly, because I think it's the coolest thing ever to have a GOAT legend of that magnitude talking NASCAR and being around the sport. But to see how happy he was, just like one of us winning our bets, what did you think about that?
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, Jordan's just always been like that. Like, he's just such a competitor, and you can tell even in this sport. Like, I know there's a lot of people a little skeptical when he first came in. Like, is he really going to be involved? And that man is involved, and it shows his his heart for it, his love for the game, has translated over to NASCAR, which is really cool to see. So, yeah, man, I love it. It's good for Reddick too. I mean, you guys said it great. I don't need to keep repeating it. That race was unbelievable. Best race of the year. That ending, I mean, there's a lap left. You just think everyone thought Blaney was winning, and Reddick just does something amazing. So it was great. So much fun to watch. Awesome race. So it is sad that it won't be in the playoffs next year. Very sad.
Yeah, 100% now. All right, so when we take a look at this playoff picture, keeping all of the playoff drama and chaos and great racing action in mind, Tyler Reddick is now the championship favorite. 3-1 to do so, at least, and I'm looking on DraftKings Sportsbook specifically, so there could be better odds out there. Obviously, shop around, but this is what I'm going to be talking off of right now. Tyler Reddick 3-1, Joey Logano 3-1, Christopher Bell at 3-1 is something that is interesting to me here because he's not really locked in to race in the championship for just yet. He does have a plus 29 point lead over the cut line. He's in third place in the NASCAR standings in terms of that, the playoff standings there. But one thing that I thought was important to note as I was watching back the Martinsville race from last year, one thing that they mentioned was Kevin Harvick a few years back was plus 42 to the cut line heading into Martinsville, one of his greater seasons, and didn't make it to the championship four. That to me was wild. I honestly, going into this weekend, was thinking that Christopher Bell plus 29, pretty much a lock. Now he could qualify well and just have a strong, clean day. But to know that there's a chance that plus 29 points, he could get knocked out, and we can see William Byron, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott all potentially take those top 1 to 2 spots up there is interesting to me. Ryan, is that something that you see potentially happening, or with Christopher Bell specifically, do you think he has it on lock in terms of his point advantage right now?
Well, he's good here. That's one thing. So it's not like he's just trash at Martinsville. He's not the best here, but he should be good enough if he can stay healthy throughout the race. I mean, I think it's just going to take some very, very bad luck or something terrible to happen to him to where he's out early and some of these guys are, obviously running great races. So, with that being said, I think with basically maybe 3 guys, Blaney and Elliott for sure, and maybe Hamlin have to win to get in. I mean, it's going to be a wild race altogether. I think we'll talk about that when we talk about some bets, but I think you can expect the volatility, hopefully to go up here. I mean, these guys got nothing to lose. So you need to win and get in. So, I mean, it should be pretty rowdy up front. So I hope it is. And if there's one way to fix a shitty package at Martinsville, perhaps it's, put 3 guys in there that need to win the race. And maybe that was their plan all along. So, yeah, hopefully we see a good, fun race.
Hey, if NASCAR's behind this plan and the script of this season, I got to tip my cap. Phil, when you take a look at the other NASCAR championship odds right now to win the championship, I mentioned the first 3 guys, all 3-1, but there's some value out there. Really now, when it comes to this race, to get into the championship, obviously it makes a little bit more sense why we're seeing higher prices out there, because if they don't win this race or don't point their way in, they can't race for a championship. Is there a driver out there on this board right now that you're looking at and saying, wow, you got to bet this driver or look at this driver to potentially bet because of his value to win the championship right now?
Yeah. So last week we said we're in on Blaney at 25-1, and his line didn't move at all. I was looking at Caesars, like he's still sitting at the same price. We said to wait on Elliott. Now for most of the race, I was sitting there going, oh boy, this is going to backfire. But sure enough, he didn't get it done. And he was at 50-1 on Caesars. He's got gas down, but I think 40-1 is still a good number on DraftKings. I would take a sprinkle on that. Like what do you have to lose at this point? This is my favorite week of the season, this part right here, because I love taking a little dip on these long shot drivers. It's worked out so well in the past. And Hamlin, I mean, 22-1. Why not a little something? Because then you're going in to the championship race with someone. It is very feasible. As long as you're managing your unit allocation okay and you have the money to spend. I'm the type that I love getting a future out there to take the shot. If all 3 of them miss, so be it. We'll reassess and see what we have coming in from the future standpoint in the Final Four. But we've seen it multiple times. So it is not out of the realm of possibility. And as we're going to talk about, all these guys we're talking about are good. So at Martinsville. So there's a reason why Elliott got, jumped down from 50 to 35 on Caesars. People were on it. Now I think it was Kyle that said, is he the 83 this week? Maybe, but like, I'm more conservative on a week to week basis, but when it comes to the futures, I'm willing to be more generous and kind of spread around a little bit to take that shot and set yourself up for success in the championship for. So I think all three of those guys are worth a little bit of money.
Elliott might be the 83 this week, but he might be the 83 from Richmond.
Oh, okay. Good call out there. I could definitely see it. And especially with all three of these, well, all six drivers, whether it's Kyle Larson, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, they've all won at Martinsville before. So Phil, to your point, they're all good and they're all good here. Like I think we can see, especially in the short track racing that we have seen recently in the next gen era, we may be able to see one of the best races. I'm hoping. Hey, if the positive energy works, I'm putting it out there, because with what happened at Miami, seeing that's a great track. Obviously, it's an awesome track, and the playoff drivers excelled there. But seeing the amount of guys that need to win to get in, and all of them having a win at Martinsville, we can continue to see some of that awesome racing. Let's head it to the comment section now. Brian saying Bell needs to perform this week. Only 2 top 10s in 9 races at Martinsville. Worst average finish by 5 spots among the 6 non-locked drivers. Love the analysis there and stats too, because if Bell does not execute, we can see a repeat of Kevin Harvick not making it in. I think that is something that really I was made aware of, honestly. I thought the plus 29, he'd be good, but nah, he is not safe. The only ones safe, Joey Logano and Tyler Reddick. I feel like we can definitely be aware of that there. Kyle also saying, I'm rooting hard for the 12. Hey, Ryan Blaney could get it done. I don't blame you there either, especially after him having the win at Miami. I feel like that's 2 years now at Homestead, Miami, where Ryan Blaney's kind of let one go. So we can see what happens here. Shout out to Sam Hall in the chat saying Logano and Reddick paid for my mortgage. Hashtag Tino changes lives. Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad you're tuning into the show, and I appreciate all the comments and the support there. And hey, that's what it's all about, right? So glad to hear it there, Sam. Kyle also saying, I'll bet the 9 to win this week and at Phoenix, ready to go down with the ship. Love it there. All right, now it's time to move on to some rapid fire questions. Don't want to keep this too long, because I want to be sure we lock in as much as we can for everything else. So I'm going to keep this one short here and maybe a little fun too. Ryan, rapid fire question. How disappointed are you in Martin Truex Jr.?
Wow. Very disappointed. I mean, luckily I didn't have too much on the 20 to 1 to win, but I did go pretty hard on the top 10. So I think a lot of my Niners Hamlin parlay was trying to chase that Truex money down. But luckily it was a big weekend anyways. But I thought that was it. I mean, in true kick you in the balls while you're down fashion, if he shows up and he's just crazy fast this weekend, I'll be so mad. But I don't think he can be trusted at this point. I think he's going to retire. I think it just is what it is. He's not in the playoffs. I don't know. Maybe that was a bad call by me last week, but the numbers kind of pointed to it. So did my heart.
I was on it too. Yeah. We were all right. The chat was locked in too. I feel like everyone was ready for the MTJ redemption to him to ride off into the sunset. And he'll still ride off, but I don't even know if it's the sunset anymore.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't have to bet on him next year. I'm glad. Great career.
Love it. All right, Phil, rapid fire question for you here in this one. Do you think, so the tires, there's a little tire compound, it's not an option tire as we saw in Richmond, but it is a form of the option tire that is the main tire. Do you think that'll have any effect over the race at all this weekend?
Well, I feel like we've been sold this snake oil before from NASCAR, and it hadn't really turned out to be that impactful. The way I'm looking at it is whether or not it affects the race in the entertainment standpoint. I'm more so just concerned, is it going to fuck up, handicapping this race in any sort of way? But it seems to me, and listen to Denny comment on it at the end of his podcast last week or on Monday, it just seems like the heavy hitter teams, they're all in the same boat. They're all trying to get an edge, but they're all, starting from scratch here. So I don't think that there's too much for us to worry about, especially midweek when it comes to handicapping and putting money down on some of these guys. But if the question is this going to play an impact on the race and from an entertainment standpoint, will it be a better race? I hope so. But I'm not holding my breath because, the whole option tire, prime tire, whatever before, that was a complete dud. Denny said that this was like the gummiest tire he's ever seen. I think that was the word he used. So whatever. I'm not convinced until we actually see them hit it out of the park with the tire. So I think we just got to treat this like any other race because nobody has an advantage. It's all, straight up. So I'm kind of putting it out of my mind when it comes to making these picks.
That's good. I think that is important to note because that was something where heading into this weekend, right? I didn't know if I should feel any sort of way from the tire. And I think, like you mentioned, they haven't proven anything crazy to happen with the tire specifically before. And also, and it's also not an option tire. It's the option tire being used as the main tire. So we don't have to worry about any switches or different strategies from that standpoint, like we did see at Richmond. But I think that this is good to know too, because of the fact that if we we see all the drivers experiencing this at the same time, no one really has to worry about any sort of driver having an advantage or being able to go out and test beforehand, like we saw at the All-Star race where Logano just goes out and leads every lap. So I think that's huge to note. And I'm glad that we did talk about it. And now it is time to see what we're going to be riding or fading in this one. Head-to-head matchups, Martinsville, a place where it's a paperclip, rubbing is racing. Things can get ugly. Things can get great in terms of the battles between drivers. Who do you guys like in this one? Ryan, we'll start with you. For a rider fade, which one's your favorite to start us off with in this one?
All right, so my favorite, and it wasn't particularly close given what's out there, is taking Ross Chastain minus 115 over Kyle Busch on DraftKings. There's a 10 person, 10 driver position gap in my pre-practice and qualifying rankings. I know that's something that Phil always looks at when he starts looking at head-to-heads. And obviously I'm the one that scores it. So when I saw that, I said, oh, holy crap, let me look further into this. Our sim has it fair at minus 170. So, I mean, that all adds up there. Ross Chastain on these short flat tracks this year is an average finish of 10.17. Kyle Busch, 23.33. He has a true average running position of 12.24. Kyle Busch, over 20. Chastain is 6-0 against Kyle Busch this year on short flat tracks. He's 5-0 since joining Trackhouse at Martinsville. So he does not lose to Kyle Busch in this package. So maybe I just jinxed it, but we're keeping that positive momentum going, like we said. So he is 5-0 as a member of Trackhouse at Martinsville, specifically 6-0 in this package this year on the short flat tracks. I don't know why Ross Chastain isn't the favorite here. So give me Ross Chastain. That's my favorite head-to-head.
Love it. I'm riding that. Phil, you riding that? Which one do you have to present to us in this one as well?
I am riding that. As a matter of fact, the bet that I was going to bring up, very, very similar, on Caesars. They have the same matchup actually, and Chastain is the favorite at minus 130. So there's that. But if you scroll down, they have Trackhouse versus RCR, and I was planning on talking about this, but I'll spend less time on this. But it's the same thing, and Trackhouse is the slight underdog at minus 110. So if you want to catch an extra 5 cents or whatever, there you go. Suarez is right in the mix with Austin Dillon and Kyle Busch. He's at their same mud level, like just not good, but he's actually better than them in a lot of metrics. Driver rating, average finish, speed rating at Martinsville in the next gen era, like just slightly better. Whereas Chastain, as Ryan just put it, in a whole nother stratosphere compared to those guys. And he mentioned the 5-0 against him at Martinsville. Just Chastain. Last thing I'll say about that one, just Chastain versus the 2 RCR guys is 9-1. And the only one he lost was when Austin Dillon finished 3rd and Chastain was 5th. So just, takes them to fucking school when they go here in the next gen car. So just wanted to throw that out there. A little bit more to play around with. Things could go wrong with 4 drivers in the mix with the team bet, but still. And shout out Big Ross. We just missed our our funeral for Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure he would have liked that one. The bet that I'm going to throw out there to you, I'm a little nervous. This is on Bet365. I'm a little nervous because I do go to the win the race rankings and I use that as a barometer. And this time it didn't really show me what I wanted to see. So I'll throw 2 bets out there to you. And because I know Bet365 isn't readily available in a lot of states, but I like Chase Briscoe this week, boys. And he's going up against Ty Gibbs. And Briscoe's 5 for 5, finishing inside the top 10 at this racetrack in the next gen car. Gibbs is 0 for 4, finishing in the top 15. So naturally, he's 4-0 against Ty Gibbs at this racetrack. And Gibbs is just consistently average, 20, 18, 18, 19, just like right there. The speed rating is 4th for Briscoe, 16th for Gibbs, 4 spots on win the race. Difference. Actually, I guess this one did work out in my favor on win the race. So I think there's something to that Briscoe there, but I understand that not everyone here has access to that. So let me throw another one out there and I'll pile on MTJ. He's an underdog on DraftKings against Martin Truex Jr. at -105. It's a similar situation. He's 4-1 head-to-head at Martinsville against Martin Truex Jr. Truex was painfully slow in the springtime. It just kind of fits the billing of his whole season. And, Truex had his time here where he was really good for a stretch, but as of late, not really been the case. So I like Briscoe this weekend in general. And he's going up against Gibbs, who I think that's punching down against, and Truex, where he's an underdog. I'll take that too. So anxious to hear what you guys think on that one.
I like that. I'm loving the Ross Chastain love as well too. Circling back on that real quick, seeing him being like favorited in all of these matchups, or even having money to him, and having the fact that he's beats these RCR guys so many times. I don't expect Kyle Busch or Austin Dillon or any of those guys to make up any speed that they had all throughout the year. Now, especially at a track like Martinsville. So I think that's huge. Ryan, what do you think? Are you running with Phil's plays in terms of Chase Briscoe and any other stuff you may have for us in terms of data?
Yeah, I like it. Like he said, it does rate out higher in the pre-practice and qualifying ranks. But one thing that I do is I do 4 different categories on there. So you can, if you don't want to just sort it by the overall score, that's fine too, because you can use Martinsville by itself because there really is no true comp to Martinsville. It is a short flat track, but it's so unique to everything else. So when you start to sort things like that, you got a 12 driver gap from Briscoe to Gibbs. And you got Briscoe and Truex right together. So with everything you said, was that second matchup that was Briscoe over Truex?
Briscoe, I was saying Briscoe over Truex, and he was -105 compared
Yeah.
to.
So
yeah.
So they're right together, and you take in the fact that a lot of that Truex history, like you're saying, is not recent. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm down. I love Briscoe here. Briscoe's a big DFS play for me here. They actually priced him up in DFS this weekend. They're starting to learn that he's really good here. But yeah, I ride with that.
It's funny that they have that matchup too, because that's that against Truex rather. Because you got one guy who's just thinking about going out fishing in 3 weeks, and then you got another guy who's looking at that 19 car saying that's my ride, and really starting to perform well. I mean, he did well last week. Has been decent enough this second half of the year where obviously he made the playoffs. So 2 different ships in the night, really, situationally.
I got to give a shout out here to our man, Big Ross, in the chat. Joined a little late. That's okay, Big Ross. Good to have you here. He said championship futures have already been discussed. Yes, that is true. If you want to go back after the show or even now, you can find that in the playoff picture segment there when we discussed all of that. And appreciate you joining us too. If you want to see the Martin Truex Jr. funeral we had as well, that was right after in the rapid fire segment. So dedicating those to you, Big Ross. If you want to go and find them, shout out for you joining us now and just a little insight into where you can find those plays. But good to see you here once again, Big Ross. Guys, I have a question for you in this matchup about Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell. So this is on DraftKings specifically. Reddick is plus 125, deservedly so. His best finish at this track is 7th. He only has two top tens in the last 9 races here, but he really hasn't been strong at this track at all. Like before the 7th place finish, it was a 26th, 22nd, 35th, 18th. Never had speed at the short tracks. We know this from Tyler Reddick. But Christopher Bell is minus 170 to beat him. Do we think Christopher Bell is, at that price where that value stands right now is worth it in terms of the play? Considering Tyler Reddick's already locked in, probably focusing on Phoenix and how to get better there because he's not good at Phoenix in the fall, only good at Phoenix in the spring for some reason. Ryan, we're in the race and everything you guys are saying over there. Would you touch the minus 170 for Bell, or is that number too low where you wouldn't even play this matchup?
No, I mean, we have it fair around minus 140. So I'd probably just stick with that for now. I don't know what Bell's. It's not like it's a road course. It's not you just go out and like get stage points. Like everyone's gonna have to pit and take 4 tires if they want to stick around the front. So it's not like you can play stage points and then just kind of fade. I don't know. I would just probably stay away from it. I don't really like either one of them here that much. Neither one of them kind of blow the doors off at Martinsville. So I'd probably just stay away at those numbers.
All right, and good to know. Brian was also, though, shout out to him because he did put out some data before saying Christopher Bell has similar stats in terms of only 2 top 10s in the last 9, but having definitely a better average finish than Tyler Reddick in this one. Phil, back to you. Any other matchups or head-to-head plays you got for us in this one?
I think we're good to move on. I might pull one out later to talk about maybe in the value area. I do have one that might be a little controversial, so we'll throw that out there for some plus money head-to-heads.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad we were able to tease that for later. And also, Brian loves your shirt. Show it off for the people.
I want to say something without saying it. Okay. Good things have happened when I've worn this shirt on this show the Sunday after. I'm not going to say what good things because I'm a little superstitious, but I think you could pick up what I'm putting down. There's a reason why I put it on tonight. So just saying.
Hey, there we go. Appreciate that one. That's some good insight. Especially on a betting show, right? That's pretty good to know.
Pulling out all the stops. Yeah.
All right, Ryan, kick us off. Your favorite position prop you want to start with, whether it's top 10 market, top 5, anything else in between. What do you got for us in this one?
So I'll just bring this up now. There's not a lot of lines out there. There's no FanDuel. There's no Fanatics. There's not a lot. I didn't like really anything on Caesars. Rivers, I can't get anything down. So it's hard to pick anything here. I didn't like DraftKings placement numbers either. So I think I'm just going to skip this for now and maybe look at it after. The other thing too that I mentioned earlier that I'll bring up again is these are a little tougher to me because if you do get some, 3 guys going for the win at the end and kind of cause some chaos in a short track like this, you could lose a top 5 real quick or something like that. So I think I'm just going to stay away. None of the numbers really blew me away, and I don't really have that many to look at. I don't know if like the place, 365 or places like that or Superbook have any good top 5s, top 10s, but I don't know. Did you find anything, Phil?
I have some guys to talk about. I mean, if you wanted to, I'll real quick. I think Ryan Preece is worth a look. He's 4-1 on Caesars. I mean, there's not a lot of data to go off of with him, but he could shock some people. Obviously, last week he did pretty well. I know he won some people some money last week. In his next gen stats, I mean, he's got a 9th in the springtime, 11th in next gen speed ranking. He's got a pole here in one of his 3 next gen starts. So he's frisky. I didn't see what Bet365 had him at for a top 10. Typically, they're a little bit more generous to us. But 4-1, I was like, yeah, looking at that group where he was around, I was like, yeah, he's somebody that could probably get to the window on for a half unit or so. The guy that I was
you mentioned Briscoe before. Like we used to get like plus 320 Briscoe top 10 numbers here and stuff.
I
And it's
know.
just like those days are long gone.
Plus 120 on Caesars for him is what I saw, and got that earlier just because I'm a fan of Briscoe this week. But we're not getting monster numbers, and to me, it's like it is what it is. We've got 2 weeks left of NASCAR racing, so I want to make sure I'm getting some action on it. The guy I'm going to call out for the segment is Bubba Wallace.
Let's go.
A few different reasons. So he's plus 130 on Caesars. I should probably check what he is on other books. But 10th on Win the Race. So there's a great foundation right there at that 10 mark. And looks like Brian's in on Bubba as well. That's great. Last 10 races at Martinsville, Bubba's average finish 13.5. But if you just zero in on the next gen era, he has been so much better. He's improving. His average finish jumps all the way down to 9.8, which is 6th in the series in that time span with 1 top 5, 3 top 10s. He's got an 11th place finish as well. So 4 for 5 in the top 11, 8th in speed ranking, 6th in green flag speed in the springtime. So this is not a situation where it's just kind of like fluking your way into, better finishes. This is someone who has clearly improved in their career at this racetrack. And I really like that. And 3 straight top 10 starting positions as well, including a 2nd place starting position in the spring. So he's coming off the truck fast, setting themselves up for success, and they're executing. And I love that. And you also consider their team, right? Reddick, huge exhale, vulnerable for head-to-head matchups. Like, I think they're just like, fuck it, let's get to Phoenix. Whereas the 23, they've been running relatively well. So I think this is like, yeah, let's go out, let's finish strong, right? I think he's in a good situation overall at a track that he's been improving at. So that's my pitch on Bubba.
Yeah, I did the qualifying 2023, 2024, pretty much all the short flat tracks. It's like an 11 race sample. And Bubba's only behind Hamlin, Truex, Larson, and Byron in qualifying. So, I mean, he is starting up front on these tracks. So, yeah, I like that one. I know Eric, hot pass. He said I was going to hate on Bubba, but I like this one. So, there it is. I guess I might bet it and root for Bubba. Who knows? I think the best number, though, is at a book I can't get. So, maybe I won't be on it, but I'll be rooting for you guys.
I appreciate that. And hey, Eric, hot pass here. We got to let you know in the beginning of the show, you might have missed it. We gave a little credit to not negative Nancy or Debbie Downer, but for Ryan, the positive guy, for the way and the positive vibes he put out into the universe that came into the racing world and ultimately gave us a great product at Homestead. And I appreciate all the comments too, because now we're going to go all the way back and we're going to give you what you're asking for here. First up is, you're waiting to see Tino's hair blow in the wind. It's majestic. I'll give you a little. Here we go. Yeah. There we go. That we answered your prayer there. Now we're gonna go to this one, which honestly I don't know either. Does Phil actually have hair? We never seen it. We all had theories.
My hair's horrible, boys. Hold on. Yeah, I got horrible hair. Just like it's not good. I'm losing it.
You have it though. There's enough hair there.
You do have it. It's Joey Logano.
I got it. It's good sometimes when I'm able to like go out to eat or whatever. I can from dead on, and then you walk past me and you look back and you're like, oh, he's got his window open in the back there. So not good in the back, but looking dead on. But I like rocking the hats. I'm rocking Skybox tonight, so shout out Skybox and Mark and those fellas.
I appreciate that. Nothing wrong with a little window up, a little pop top in the back. I got a little party in the back. You got business in the back. Gotta stay locked in. All right, now the last one here, Ryan. This one's for you. Show him the teeth. Give him a good smile for hot pass.
There he goes.
There it
did.
is.
When he said that, I looked right up and gave it to him, tops and bottoms. So
the double.
No problem.
I hope all of you guys are happy with that in the chat there. I love that we were able to go through those. And one thing I did want to touch on in the chat is this question from Brian. He said his biggest question was, how does Willie B show up? Does Willie B show up on Sunday? So I wanted to throw that over to you, Ryan, and see what When the Race was saying about William Byron at Martinsville for this weekend. It could be starting position, finishing position, average running position. You guys have it all over there and based on the Sim Center, and that's a great way to gauge how we can see certain drivers, doing throughout their careers here at this track and what else they need to do to be strong specifically for this weekend. So, Brian, I hope you're tuning in now because your question is about to get answered by When the Race. Brian, what do you got?
Yeah, William Byron, I mean, if you look at just all the short flats this year, he's got the 5th best true average running position. And we've seen him perform really well at Martinsville in the past. I was actually at the win. It was a super boring Martinsville race that I was at, but he did, super fast that race, won the race. Yeah, Byron's live. I mean, I feel like he doesn't get any love. It's like he's been fast lately, but it just doesn't seem like he's had a race winning fast type of car. But I mean, if you get out front here, it's like if this package does what it has done, it's very hard to pass. So, I mean, and that's what we've seen at Martinsville a lot. But now you have 3 guys breathing down your neck who need to win. So, I mean, they could kind of move you right out of the way. So,
right. And Chase
Yeah,
Elliott, Larson, teammates being some of those. What do you think about? So, okay, if you were to rank them, and it doesn't have to be Martinsville specifically, and this doesn't have to be fully data driven either. I'm really just wanting to see what you guys think about the 3 Hendrick drivers going into Martinsville. Is it William Byron, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, or where would you rank those 3 in terms of how they'll perform the best this weekend?
I was surprised that Chase Elliott came out number 1 for me in my pre-practice and qualifying ranks this weekend. So I didn't think he would. I thought it'd be Larson or Hamlin, but Elliott beat them both. So I'm sure we'll talk about this later. We can jump right into these outright bets, but I did take Elliott to win with a little sprinkle on the 50-1 next week. I don't necessarily like him at Phoenix, but you only have to beat 3 cars that race. And, shit could go wrong for them. Like we saw with Bell last year, there goes 1 down and then you just got to beat 2 guys. It's like so much can happen. And I imagine just put so much work into that car and everything. The other thing I love about Elliott, and we saw it at Homestead, his pit crew, and they've been the number 1 ranked pit crew on Win the Race all year long. And we saw that at Homestead. That crew is unbelievable. I mean, they are fast as hell. They gain him track position. And the other thing, too, is he can qualify really well. We talked about that earlier. I think Elliott can be very strong. I really like, his teammates, too. But I kind of like Elliott's number. It was at 9 when I bet it. I feel like if he does qualify well in the pole or, on the front row, it's probably going to be cut in half. So that's why he was the one that I bet already. Where the other ones, I'll just kind of wait and see. I don't really see how much worse those numbers can get if they qualify well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hey, good to know. I think one thing that I wanted to take a look at was the finishing results from this race in the spring. And we're talking about those 3 Hendrick drivers. Well, no better segue because William Byron won that race. I will also say, with how William Byron performed in this race last year, in this specific scenario where he needed to have enough points to go to the championship 4, maybe that's the case in this one, or he may have to win. My point is, he was terrible in this race last year. Then he goes out in the spring and wins it from starting 18th. That's something that concerns me a little bit when we talk about track position and drivers, but also could help if we're on a guy to win outright and they don't qualify too well. We saw Ryan Blaney in this race last year, qualify 11th, storm through the field, and ultimately get the win. Larson started first in this race in the spring, finished second. Chase Elliott third and finished third. Then we see Bubba in 4th, Blaney in 5th, Logano 6th, Reddick 7th. That was a crazy Reddick 7th place finish there, his best at Martinsville.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you realized that those 3, I think finished 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, they finished 1, 2, 3 in the spring. It's just very interesting.
It is, and especially in. So I think that's my question to you now, Phil, is when we look at those finishing results from the spring, how much do you think that'll carry over into this race now? Obviously, different temperature, different team environment, like everything. A lot has changed from the beginning of the year. We know that. But will these 3 finish 1, 2, 3 again? I mean, they were pretty dominant at this track in the spring.
I don't think they'll finish 1, 2, 3 again. I mean, I think, if there's a book out there that allows you to bet that would be a fun number to see, but that would be pretty outstanding. I just think things have changed. Circumstances have changed. And the last time Byron, he's won 3 races. This was the last time he won a race, all the way back to Martinsville in the springtime. Now I'm going to talk about Byron later in the next segment, but I rank him as far as my expectations for guys to be able to go win this race. I think it is the other two ahead of him. Just because Byron's been like so good at pointing people to death, but I think you need to win. You need to win this race unless you're Christopher Bell. So because Byron and Larson are too close together, it's just going to be so crazy that you have to have that winner's mentality. And I see it. I could see the other two getting there. I just would not until practice and qualifying take place. I can't see it yet with Byron, just based off of recent performance. He's been 6th, 7th, 8th, like top 10 in people to death. But I'll talk more about him in a little bit.
Yeah, where Byron won that race in the spring, but I had him as the 5th best car. So, he sometimes just finds himself in that position, but it doesn't necessarily mean like I agree with you. Elliott and Larson, I had, 1 and 2 in the spring race with Hamlin 3. Could see something like that again, obviously, given the circumstances now. I had Blaney, top 10 too, and he finished top 5. He's going to be a factor. It's just going to be an awesome race. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, Big Rush saying shout out to Blaney because he's going to be in the mix. Brian as well. And that's a driver that I want to touch on too here because he might be my favorite play to win a race outright this weekend. Blaney to me. Now this, I may contradict myself here, but stick with me. I feel like Blaney may be one of the clutchest drivers in the field. Now, I saw what happened last weekend. Tyler Reddick just beat him. He beat him with a move. And I also want to kind of stick up for Blaney a little bit here. I mean, I know if I'm in that position, I'm winning that race. But my point is, Ryan Blaney chose the middle of the track. You had Denny Hamlin and you had Tyler Reddick, two of the best. One was low and one was high. I feel like I kind of respected that move a lot more than people may give him credit for, because maybe you can try to block both, but obviously he didn't, and Tyler Reddick goes around the outside. To me, I feel like Blaney, especially being in these certain positions last year on his route to a championship, came through. So why not him again in this one? Plus 600 to me, that's the best odds I'm seeing for him to win this race outright. I don't necessarily love. So for you guys, Ryan specifically, are you going to be, if you are betting on Ryan Blaney, would you bet on him now earlier in the week or wait until after practice and qualifying, where we saw last year he started 11th? Maybe we can see this value be bumped up just a little bit and then obviously win more money because of it.
Yeah, so he was actually the other one I was looking at. And if he got to like 8 or so, I probably would have bet it now, but he's not there. And I just, looked at all those qualifying numbers, and Elliott had him beat by like 3 spots in that 11 race sample on the short flat track. So I just went with Elliott, better number now that I think could get slashed. And I'll just take my chances with Blaney. If Blaney qualifies, really great. Is he going to be, how much worse than 5-1 is he going to be? I don't know, especially when you have all those other guys that need to win, like Hamlin, Larson, like these guys all create that value anyway. So I don't really see, even if Blaney's starting on the pole, what's he going to be, 4-1? I don't see him getting much worse than that. So especially when they could just get wrecked out. Someone could just move you the fuck out of the way to win the race and go to the championship. So yeah, we'll see. He was the other guy though. I'm glad you brought him up, because I was between Elliott and him, and I was just going to think about all those things and place one right now, and that's what I did.
Nice. All right, I'm glad. And I think Blaney kind of deserves that personally, based off of how he has raced here. And another thing too that I've noticed with him is whenever he may be mad at himself or mad at a situation, there's been times where he's finished like dead last or had a bad run the week prior, and I've thought to myself, okay, this next week, like Blaney's going to be aggressive. Like Blaney wants to kind of get revenge or redemption, and it actually happened. So I feel like maybe this could be another chance of that with him finishing second place last week in this one here. One driver that we haven't talked about that much all show. We did talk about how high his price is to win a championship, but for who I'm going to say it is deservedly so, Denny Hamlin, plus 450, got a lot of wins at Martinsville, but none recently. Phil, what is your outlook on Denny? I don't love the odds for him at all heading into this race weekend, but is that a driver you can see? And when we talk about guys that we can see like getting it done, Byron maybe not one of them, Blaney is one of them. Where do you put Hamlin in that category?
I think he is someone, I mean, if if you want to talk about the strategy that I had going into this race, I think it's going to be won by a playoff driver. And I took Chevy at plus 140 and to cover the Hendrick guys. And then I took Blaney at 6-1. I took Hamlin at 5-1. So I'm playing defense with Hamlin, and he's not 5-1 anymore. It's 450. I mean, it's getting a little lower. He hasn't won here in a million years. Actually, like a really long time, which is crazy because he has led average. He's got the first most average laps led in the last 5 races here in the next gen card, 91.2. Like, and to not win the race in that sense, like he led 80 plus laps in the springtime. Where'd he finish? Like 11th. Just crazy that he leads so much here and doesn't get it done. So I from just the standpoint of ignoring everybody else, and I didn't take Bell because I think Bell is just going to be trying to play it safe as best he can. He's in a position where we could have another winner and he could still make the playoffs. I think Larson, Byron, not in that sense. So I'm taking the Chevy camp for multiple units and then making sure everything's all lining up. So that's the way I'm playing it. I do think Hamlin has the ability to win this race. Things obviously need to click, but if he were to win at Martinsville to lock himself in, would anybody be shocked? I don't think so. I think it's very possible. The problem that gamblers have at this point in the week is that the number's too short. So let's let some of these guys who qualify really well here go out and do that. And then guys like Blaney, guys like Hamlin, who qualify average 10th, 12th, Logano even. I'm going to talk about Logano in a second. Those guys don't qualify all that well. So let's let them do their thing and get better odds on them on race day.
I like it. And I do really like the strategy as well of taking Chevy with all those Hendrick Motorsports drivers we're talking about here and the value that it presents us. Love the Chevy drivers there, especially with the guys that need to win this race. It's 3 Chevy HMS guys. We talked about Blaney and just now about Denny Hamlin. That could be the guys that could beat that. And then the only other variable I would think, like you said, would be Christopher Bell. And I definitely do believe to that same point, he's going to just not, if someone's beating on his door and rubbing his, he's just going to get out of the way. Maybe not get out of the way, but he does not want anything bad to happen to him, especially with how good that car was at Phoenix. If Seabell's able to advance, he might win it all. Ryan, what are you thinking about Phil's strategy there? Is that something that you'd be riding with in this one in terms of our outright plays here, in terms of thinking about Chevy being the manufacturer bet in that sense?
Yeah, I looked at that earlier. I think you can just take like Hendricks though for a little bit better, you know.
Sorry, I was muted. Great point. They were plus 160 on Bovada at one point, or no, where did I write them down? They were plus 160 at Bet365 earlier yesterday. So I don't know what that number is now, but yes, because I don't see an outside Chevy winning. I think it's going to be one of the 4. And Bowman, I mean, Bowman's Bowman, but he's not a total, loser at this racetrack.
Right.
But I do think it's going to be one of the 3 playoff guys.
He's not a hack here.
He's not a hack.
Finished 8th in the spring. It was 1, 2, 3, 8.
Yeah. So one thing I did notice in Greg Mathern's front runners that win the race, in the Gen 7, there's 5 Martinsville races in that time, and only Denny and Elliott have a fast lap percentage over 10%. So they do bring very fast cars here. So like you said, Hamlin, it's weird that he hasn't won, but he has been great here. Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. That Chevy thing did cross my mind though, so that's another cool thing you brought up.
Awesome. Let's go. Brian also saying, and this is huge here, if we want to take a quick sneak peek into next week at Phoenix in the championship, no spring Phoenix winner has won the championship race. If we get to it, we'll talk more about that next week, but I think that could change.
But multiple Martinsville winners have won the Phoenix championship race, which is, even more intriguing. So, yeah, it's a thing.
All right. Well, now it's time to get to the best values, closing it out. If anyone has any more questions, comments for us, any insights, any bets you want to put into the chat, do so now as we're rounding out the show, getting our best values out there. We'll highlight it. If you have any questions, we'll talk about it. If you want to use Win the Race right now, you don't have a subscription, we can get Ryan to give you a little bit of details for that as well. So if anyone has any comments, be sure to get them in right now. Ryan, we'll start with you. Best values for you in this one.
Well, without a lot of books open, I think from a pure value, the way, like the definition of value would be when betting, I think it's the Chastain over Kyle Busch as far as where our simulations have it. He's undefeated versus him in multiple aspects you look at, whether it's just Martinsville since he joined Trackhouse or the short flats this year. And then it goes back even further, like Phil said, 9-1 against RCR. But yeah, I think from a pure value standpoint, that would be it right now. If you can find the -115, that's even the -130 is still great value. I don't have any like long shots like I did. It kind of sucks when you get the Austin Dillon shout or the Austin Hill shout out last week. I don't have anything like that this week. There's not a lot out to look at. So I would say just hop and Win the Race in the Discord, and we'll see what we can find as the week trucks on here.
All right. We got to give our shout out to our guy, Hot Pass podcast there with Eric. He also does the NASCAR Betting Preview Show, Xfinity Show. So appreciate him and everything he does with that. And Bubba Pollard, top five at +500. Seems like great value to me there. If you want to find out more of his plays, and tune in there, coming out on Friday, like he mentioned there down below. So be sure to check that out. And it's going to be a crazy Xfinity Series race as well. That one is always hard for me. As someone else said in the chat, it's always hard for me to bet on because that one just seems like a chaos, crazy race whenever they go to Martinsville for the Xfinity Series. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah.
I want to mention one thing just that's in the Sim Center that shows up as great value. Let me just click on it and see the details here. So it's under, I don't have these in New York, but if you have them on Caesars, the manufacturer over unders and under 3.5 Chevys inside the top 10 is actually a 5-star bet on here. Because you figure you're going to have those Hendricks guys that we talked about. You would imagine they're, running top 5 or thereabouts. But then like we get to Chastain, I would say he's probably the next best. And he's fringy top 10 at best. Then you have the other factors, and the Sims don't even account for this, but you have the other factor of the aggression. What if these guys who need to win to get in wreck each other out or something? They're not going to finish top 10 at that point. So plus you just have the general issues that NASCAR can bring. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I can't do it in New York, but under 3.5 Chevys inside the top 10 is showing as something that simmed out really well right now.
Okay, all right. Very nice. Appreciate it there. For those of you not in New York, definitely take advantage of that. I'm also in New York, so that sucks for me. Phil, not New York. What do you get? What do you got for your best value? Yeah, I mean, might have to put on now. Best values on your end. I feel like you've been teasing us. I feel like you've been getting us going, thinking about what you got here. This could be something I'm excited about.
Yeah, I don't think it's available in New York, but it's still, I think, worth the conversation for maybe other things when race day rolls around. But Bet365 has William Byron as an absolute monster favorite over Joey Logano. So let me go on my soapbox here, okay? Because I'm taking Logano at +120 in this matchup. Now, Logano, just like Blaney, qualifies around like 12.4, I think, is his average starting position here in the next gen car. So
is this qualifying bet or race bet?
No, race bet.
Race bet, okay.
So he doesn't qualify great. So the point being there, maybe this gets even more stretched out. But I can't imagine them bringing it back and making it even more crazy. But here's the deal. Last 5 finishes in the next gen car for Joey Logano, 4.4 average finish. That's second to Blaney. Byron is double that, 9.2, which is damn good, 9.2. But Logano has just been like so much better in the stretch here. Driver rating, 99 point something to 95 point something, like still better metrics there. 3-2 head to head. Okay. Joey Logano wins that head to head. The 2 wins for Byron were victories. And so what that tells me is, and when you're looking at their finishes, in order to beat Joey Logano in a head-to-head matchup, William Byron has to win the damn race, which is not easy to do. So kind of like what we were talking about last week in a matchup where the margin of victory when Byron wins, it's like very close. When Logano wins, it's like really stretched out. So Logano has been better here overall. Now, when we're talking about just like super consistency, Byron scares me a little bit. That's why when we're talking about him to win the race and even like make the next round of the championship, he scares me because the spectrum is very large. It's like he could run first, he could run 18th, he could run 21st. Like he's not been consistent. And in head-to-head matchups, that's what I look for. And Logano has been very consistent. He hasn't been worse than 7th in the next gen era, which is crazy. Now, to the folks that say, all right, well, Logano was nowhere to be found last week. He's already looking at Phoenix. True, maybe last week, but there are situations that we can look at from the past as a precedence here where 2 years ago he won Vegas. And what did he do at Martinsville? Perform really well. Last year, completely out of the playoffs altogether. Everybody was putting all the energy into Blaney's car trying to get him into the championship. How did Logano do? Very well. Ran really well, finished really well. So top 10 finishes. It's not going to be a situation where Logano's out to lunch like he was last week.
It's not even the same package. So like you would benefit from bringing a fast car here because you're going to be running the same package at Phoenix.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think this doesn't stack up well for Byron. And, if these head-to-head matchups were like publicized and the teams were aware of them, like, and it meant something to them, like, I think they would be shook if they were matched up against, Logano head-to-head. And the fact that it's plus 120 to me, that's what like got my antenna up right away and started looking into it. So that's my best value pick. See if it works out.
I love that there, especially because of the point you mentioned, like William Byron will have to potentially win this race to beat Joey Logano. What did he do in this race in the spring? Well, he won it, and Joey Logano finished 6th. So he was right there to that exact point, leading stages as well, leading a lot of laps in, I believe he won a stage 2. Everything that 22 team does at this track is fast. One that I wanted to call out for best value play, and maybe doesn't have the highest value or price for us that we'd like in terms of profit off of and plus money, but it's that Bubba Wallace plus 140 for a top 10 on Caesars. 3 in the last 4 races at this track. You need high track starting positions, 2nd, 6th, and 9th in those last 3 here. And as Phil alluded to him earlier on in the show or talked about him, Bubba's just been better here. And I feel like in these playoffs, he's been one of the best cars. That 23 team consistently brings it. Maybe don't have the finishes, but during the race, I feel like he's racing around these playoff drivers and passing them and being able to capitalize on positions like that. So Bubba Wallace for a top 10 at plus 140 from Caesars. I like those odds there in that one. Looking at the chat now, Big Raw saying Logano's also just good here. Takes way less commitment to be faster than Homestead. Definitely agree with that there. And they can put their commitment towards Phoenix and still be good. Like we're talking about, just roll out of bed and run strong at Martinsville, it seems like. Hey, shout out to the Yankees here. Staying on business. We love to see that. I think they're making history and going all the way. That's my Yankees World Series prediction on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show for you guys there. So appreciate everyone in the chat as well. Ryan, close us out here. Where can everyone find Win the Race at and everything you guys got going on for another special weekend ahead of us? We're going to continue the positive energy, continue the momentum from some great wins the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, wintherace.info. I know there's only a couple weeks left, but you can sign up for weekly. It's half off your first week. It's $10. So you want to check us out here, check us out for the championship race at Phoenix. We're not stopping until the checkered flag goes at Phoenix. So we go right to the end. The Discord's even fun, like in the off season and stuff too. But I don't expect anyone to sign up for the year, at the end of the year. So check it out. Great stuff through the end of the year. The Sim Center's great. We'll have projections for DFS for all 3 series this weekend. I'll try to get trucks out. Xfinity and Cup, I know I'll be able to get out. Trucks has that turnaround like during the day Friday, so see what I can do there. But wintherace.info, check it out. Thank you guys. Awesome show. Love it. Thank you for everyone for commenting into it. Makes it way more fun and active, and I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely there. Ryan mentioned trucks. Phil, do you have any truck action that we can follow for this one in this weekend?
Well, they just dropped some odds, so I need to kind of get in the lab here. We're supposed to be recording a podcast tonight. If that still happens, I did see Caesars drop some head-to-head matchups. And I did kind of like a couple of them. So yeah, I'll see if I can maybe get to the window on a couple of those. I think the first one, just off the top of my head, was Ankrum over Taylor Gray. Ankrum was very fast here in the springtime and finished top 5, and both of those guys being playoff drivers, I'm into that. But yeah, hopefully we get a truck pod out there. I agree. Weird timing for the trucks on Friday. I was excited for Friday Night Lights, and then I saw it was like a 6 o'clock start. I'm like, what the fuck is this? My kids won't even be in bed, so I can't even start drinking yet. But in any case, be happy to see them on the track. So, but yeah, good luck everyone this weekend. For Sunday, I'm in a bit of a pickle. I'm going to the Eagles game, which got flexed to 4 o'clock instead of 8. So now I'm in the process of trying to borrow a generator so I can watch the race while I'm tailgating. We'll see for as much as I can. But yeah, we'll see how that works out. So good luck, everyone. And thanks again to everyone in the chat. Like Ryan just said, this has been awesome this week. As always bringing the heat. And might throw a little Yankees future on there too. So,
wow, the Philly guy. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, thanks again to the chat. Appreciate everyone commenting out there. Miami might get one last one in there. Appreciate him. It's been great seeing the chat all throughout the season with now 2 races left to go, 1 show left of the NASCAR Betting Preview Show for this year. It means a lot to me. It's great seeing you guys each and every week, and inspires me, motivates me to continue on working and having fun with you guys and you boys, that are hosting the show with me and everything like that. You can tune in, follow all my picks like we talked about. No, I don't think anything's really changing, but if it does, you can find me at Tino, PATTIGNO, on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio as well. Excited to get on there and talk about my best bets, like all you guys heard about. And you can find my own podcast for NASCAR betting on Front Stretch at Through the Gears over on there. So once again, best of luck to everyone. Stay tuned for the race. It's going to be another awesome playoff NASCAR racing action. Best of luck. We'll see you next week. One final show, the championship, on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show.